Right.
So we have now completed what we did call the peak concept. In other words, pardon me, we've got the concept, the proper concept now of metaphysics. We've got that, and all the repercussions and the application to the other. Now we're going to deal with the properties of being. Somebody did ask me, when do we start these? We start them now. The properties of being can be of two kinds. One is called the transcendental properties. I'm sorry, properties of being, modes of being. Now there are two kinds of modes. One are the general, the others are the particular or special. The general are something, every being is something, every being is one, every being is true, every being is good. Don't think like students think, by good you mean moral good. No, it has a desirability. And a horse loves that desirability. And a tree does too. By a natural inclination, it spreads its being everywhere it can. The struggle of flowers to go to the centre of Australia, where the Bindaboos, those very shy black people that were only discovered in 1977, strangely enough. The natives spoke of a shy people, but all of them, the white men had never seen them. In the Simpson Desert, very shy people. But those people all want to spread their goodness. The tree wants to spread its goodness. But in that desert, it rains probably once every 7 or 8 years or so. But when it does, it becomes an absolute paradise of flowers. They spring up, anxious to reproduce, anxious to develop and reproduce. And you need a few drops of rain, even one drop, according to Idris, one drop on sand, and you can watch it, and you'll see a little shoot start. You can watch it grow. So everything sees its own goodness. Hydrogen tries to convert oxygen to be hydrogen, and oxygen tries to convert hydrogen to be oxygen. They meet halfway. That's what non-living things do. But living things, we reproduce our own species. And because they're true and they're good, they're beautiful. I was looking at a textbook today, of metaphysics, excuse me. And that textbook, he devotes 1.5 pages to the beautiful. I've given you, and the number of words on the page are quite minimal, but I've given you, or will be giving you, about 6 pages, and it's intensely packed, believe me. So these are the general modes, which we're going to start and deal with now. Then the particular modes are substance and accidents. Now, why are they called transcendental? Trans plus scandere. Scandere means to climb. Trans means across. It climbs, all these properties climb from one to the other. They all climb from one to the other. There's no such thing as just a being. Everything's some being, something. So we'll start with that now in chapter 8 in our text.
Dr. Waters, please repeat that one more time.
But
Trans and scanty. Repeat it one more time. The trans and scanty, what is that?
oh, trans means across, and scandere means to climb. It doesn't belong, oneness doesn't just belong to tree or man. It belongs to everything. Every being is one. And we'll see there are 5 modes of oneness. We'll see that presently, tonight. But it means every being is something, every being is one, every being is true, every being is good, and every being is beautiful. I think in the past I said, for instance, about beautiful and goodness. Joseph Stalin, Lenin, Karl Marx, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, all these tyrants, they had goodness. And the girl got up and ran out of the class. I found her sitting on the steps of the Faculty of Arts. My classroom was in that building. And I said, "What happened?" I sat down next to her. She said, "My family were all kulaks." Now the kulaks had up to 12 million murdered by Joe Stalin's orders. And her grandfather brought them all the remains of the family to Canada. And when he got them all settled into positions, educated, and into good jobs and homes, etc., and got them all as well established there, then he went and hung himself, and it was not long before that. And she said, "What's good about Stalin? He ordered the death of my family." I said, "That's what's so terrible about Stalin. He took the goodness he had, human perfection, just having a body and soul. Is it good? It's desirable because we all cling to it. If a car comes at you, boy, you jump out of the way. But when it's distorted, it's the worst of evils. What's the great principle? Corruption of the best is the worst. Corruption of the best is the worst. So, everything is good, has basic goodness, physical goodness, but it may not have moral goodness. So let's get started, first of all. This is chapter 8, as I said. The first one we'll deal with is to distinguish being and thing, if I remember correctly. So just as we ignore the individual as individual with the human intellect, we use him only to be part of a group to find the universal in empirical science. No scientist is interested in the piece of gold in your wedding ring or the leather in your shoes, but they're interested in leather generally. It might be they're interested in leather, why some particular leather stood up to wear longer than others did. They might do that. I was informed by people who are specialists in leather on 2 occasions that the kangaroo leather is supposed to be the toughest in the world. I didn't know that before. I was informed in Canada and recently in Australia. But we ignore the individual. All science, every science is about the universal. That's why it's important to defend the immateriality of the human intellect. We're defending science. It was done in the Catholic Academy of Sciences when I presented a paper, and I was showing the nature of science and how we distinguish them. And the secretary of the Academy said a lot of people wouldn't recognize those as sciences when I was talking about some of the sciences, like philosophical and theological science. He said it to the wrong person, unfortunately for him. But every science depends upon philosophy. But philosophy defends the universals of all those sciences, defends that the human intellect can have science. So in metaphysics, we're defending the universality of being, and all the properties of being underlie every other science. So then, when we study the true, by the way, we also study the false. When we study the good, we study evil. So we've got a section on that. The special modes, substance and 9 accidents, we'll deal with also. So the first one of these, A2, is one. What is oneness? The simple is undivided and indivisible. It has be as long as it's undivided. St. Thomas made a remark, by the way, which I have not found in him, but others have told me about it. He said, you can divide gold down to a point where when finally you divide it, it's what you divide it into is no longer gold. He said that in the 13th century. And Dalton didn't pronounce that till, what, about 7 or 8 centuries later? Or not 7 or 8, but 6 or 7 anyway. In other words, the atomic theory. That's really what it amounts to. When you get to a certain point, what you divide it into is no longer gold. Likewise, St. Thomas pronounced something that certain other people in the 17th, 18th, 19th century called the principle of acceleration. As you approach the term of a movement, you approach it with an increasing rate of acceleration. That I cannot find either, but others have assured me it's there. But where is it? I don't know. The trouble is, the people who I knew so well who could pinpoint it, they're no longer in this world. So the simple is undivided and indivisible. It has B as long as it is undivided. The compound is also such that it does not have B as long as it is divided. For instance, a simple thing is, say, hydrogen. Water is a simple thing. But water is a compound. Each thing has a B which consists of undividedness. And each thing guards its B inasmuch as it guards its unity. Everything guards its B inasmuch as it guards its unity. St. Thomas said that in question 11, article 1 of the first part of his Summa. I think the Democratic Party has a little bit to learn there. With the present dispute between two people, there's dividing the party so much. I'm neither speaking for nor against it. All I'm saying is two people competing with each other. It'll smash the Democratic Party because of that. One belongs to all things analogically. All things analogically. The human intellect demands unity. We seek unity in a play, a novel, a movie. Years ago, when I was about 20-something,
That's something.
85 years ago?
Yeah, 85 years ago, yeah. There was a film in which nothing was stuck together. I can't remember the name of it, but it was being laughed at by all the young fellas girls that I was amongst at the time. They were laughing at this. Nothing hung together. Things kept coming into the film all the time, and nothing made any sense. But I've watched films cut on television, and I've seen things that I say, well, where did this fit in? It seemed to be leading you in this direction, but where did it fit in? It didn't fit in at all. So we look for unity. The many is opposed to one. Now, don't confuse predicamental one and transcendental one. One horse, 2 horses, 3 horses, 4 horses, that's predicamental one. That's a particular predicament. But transcendental unity means the unity of all beings. Any being whatsoever has a unity. So transcendental number. You wouldn't say, for instance, what was the... can't think of the term for a minute. But anyway, a crowd of people. Now the categories of unity. I haven't got the page numbers because I haven't got the pages. I can't run them off my computer.
You just, many as opposed to one is on page 39.
Oh, is it? Thank you. So the categories of unity, you've got that there. There's a substantial unity. Now that's, but
Page 40.
thank you. Tree, dog, man, a molecule of silver nitrate or water, etc. It's all a substantial unity. But there can be an accidental unity. An aggregate. They just happen to be all together. Now this afternoon, I saw something outside my house, and I still haven't worked out what happened. Suddenly there are dozens and dozens of cars all along my road and the road that runs into my road. I don't know what happened. It was straight away my mind saying, hello, what's wrong here? I presume on the corner of Military Road and Upper Mountain Road there must have been a terrible accident there. I didn't hear anything. Jenna's mother had brought her to my place about then, and she said she heard a siren. I didn't hear it. But there's an aggregate. We look for the unity. Why is all this traffic? I mean, we're in a sort of a street that's off just between main roads. You wouldn't expect all that traffic to be there. So there's a certain unity of place. I've filled that in so much that I think you could follow that yourselves. Then there's a unity from purpose of artifact, a structural unity. A chair, a building, a bookcase. It's for a purpose that the maker has made it. Purpose of artifact. Then there's a unity from subordination of operation. We call it dynamic unity. The hand uses a stick to move a stone. Man uses an axe to chop a tree. We've got that in the living substance. I use my pen to write. My hand is moved by the muscles. Muscles moved by the nerve. Nerve moved by the imagination. By the locomotive power. We have all these locomotive power. Operation, wiggling of the ears and blinking and the eyelashes and everything like that. Walking on the street. Power of locomotion. And that power of locomotion is moved by the imagination. And the imagination is moved by the will. What moves the will? Only one being can move the will. God. It's moved from potency and act. Cannot move itself. Nothing can actualize itself. We are free to determine which way it goes. Remember, I used the analogy of the car. If you tie behind the wheel of the car's moving you along, but all you can do is turn the wheel. You can direct where the car goes. So that's a subordination of operation. One part subordinated to your other. Subordination means ordered under. Then unity from end. That's a moral unity. For instance, the family is a moral unit. It's ordered towards the end, reproduction of the species. It's also got a supernatural end. Be with God. But it's a moral unity, the family. It struggles together to achieve the ends. Civil society is a moral end, has a moral end rather. The common good. Now this unity of end may be purely arbitrary or natural. If it's purely arbitrary, you can invent them, have 10,000 of them. I think at Niagara University somebody once worked out there was something like 100 organizations. I don't know whether that's true or not, I can't remember. There could be one organization, and maybe half the campus belongs to that. That's on Monday nights, let's say. Tuesday night they meet for another thing. Then Wednesday night, the same group might meet for another thing. Wearing different hats, the directors, etc., of those different organizations. But on Thursday night, another group. I've used this example in the classroom. This group might meet Monday night for one thing. These meet Monday night for another thing. These meet Monday night for another organization. On Tuesday night, only these front people meet for a certain one, then the others. And you could have 100 organizations in this room alone. But the end is the measure of these things, of the societies, the various societies. A debating society, a stamp gathering societies. I once looked into a telephone directory. I've still got that directory somewhere. And that directory gives you information about organizations in the United States with 800 numbers. I think there's even a number for an organization that skins a louse for its hide or something like that. You'd be surprised at the organizations that exist for the observation of naughty people, or is it something else? Oh.
I have that book too.
So, in the domestic societies, there are two levels. There are two levels. So there are two types of ends. I'll just quickly put them on here. In the domestic society, in other words, the family unit, there's the conjugal society, when Billy and Betty, or Bob and Betty, are yoked together. That's what the word means. Because it's named after the similarity of two oxen yoked together. They go into church, they come out, and Bob says, "The yoke's on me." Then there's the familial society. Now the conjugal society has an end. Mutual love, mutual aid, and a natural remedy for concupiscence, in other words, sexual desire. This is ethics, of course, but I'm applying it.
What was the second one, please?
Mutual love, mutual aid.
Thank you.
Nothing to do with the AIDS, of course.
Okay.
I produced about 5 books on AIDS for students in my courses. And students told me that somebody said, "You've got to have the AIDS to get in the Dr. Waters class." Now, do you notice there are 3 here that would destroy the family, could destroy the family, I'm sorry, if they were left alone. And in fact, that's what's happening with divorces. The familial society, what's its common good? New, live man. Woodbury used to always say new man, but I put new live man since abortion has come into being. So that should unify the lot. Otherwise, the husband might marry for love and sex, or he may just marry for aid, just mutual aid, and the wife marries for this. That could happen.
What is mutual aid?
Well, she sweeps the floor, he brings in the money,
That kind of aid?
he belts her over the ear when she doesn't measure up, something like that. Or any kinds of little, you help one another. Two people can get along with keeping house much easier than one person, you see. I mean, I've seen my father, and I hated to see this, washing the dishes, because when he did, he made me dry them. So, you know, but the new live man, that would unify people much better. In other words, there's a certain subordination here. But this is a little society, the conjugal society, in other words, just a man and a woman. And that is a preparation for the familial society. And thus, and if these 3 are ordered correctly and not disordered, be excellent for bringing up the family. See, it's all based upon a unity, a union, a oneness. In Latin, unus, U-N-U-S, is the word for one. That's why we say unity. So there's the unity in the family. It's easy to see why it's being broken today. That's not difficult at all. We found out, Dr. Bonnet and I, that everybody is saying that 50% of marriages break up in the United States. Wasn't the figure about 26% or something? Verified by the government?
Much lower than that.
Pardon?
Yes, it's much lower.
It's much lower, isn't it? About 26%. Not 50%, as people have been claiming. In a city like Ottawa, I heard there it was verified within the university that it was 50%. But people have argued from this, the breakup of marriage, therefore a marriage not a natural institution. Don't mention homosexuality. By the way, have you all got that page I wrote on homosexuality, the arguments?
Yeah.
Feel free to spread it. Anybody who hasn't got it, let me know. So there's the unity there. That's a moral unity. By reason of arguing, or unified by reason of the end. Then the civil society, I mean, we're going into ethics, but I'm illustrating the unity. In the civil society, man is divided into a vegetative level, vegetative, sensitive level, vegetative, nutrition, growth and generation, sensitive level, in other words, all our sense life, the 5 external senses and the 4 internal senses, and the rational level. And the rational level is divided into 2. Speculative, in other words, we know for the sake of knowing, or practical, we know for the sake of doing. Now in society there are 4 levels too. Society correspond to this. The speculative level, the body cultural. The practical level, the body politic. The sensitive level, the body recreative. Some call it the body sportive. And finally the vegetative level, the body economic. So I got some diagrams on some of these things. Of course, we did them in ethics. If you want it, let me know. Now, just as the practical intellect overlooks the sensitive life and the vegetative life for the sake of the speculative life, it's our higher life that we are very concerned about. People want to know. Some call it curiosity. It's not the best term to use. Studiosity is far better. Curiosity is an idle sort of seeking of information. One man lecturing in Australia, I remember his name was Father Suarez, he spoke about he was speaking to us in French, modern dilettantisme, just delighting in things. Poor man went back home to Italy or to Rome where he was and was killed in a car accident. But the body should be investigating things properly. Likewise, the body politic oversees this one. The body politic oversees the body recreative and the body economic for the sake of the body cultural. But each of these has a common good. Now the common good of the body economic is leisure, saving of time and effort. This lady produces one kind of goods, this gentleman produces another one, this gentleman another one, this gentleman produces something else, and we do acts of exchange. That's how the body economic works. And we save time and effort. We compete, and compete means we seek together. We, and I, you, and you, and you, and you, etc. We're all each producing something and saving the other person time to do it. I remember a man, I was talking to a bootmaker on one occasion. He'd been in prison. Nice fellow. And he had, I don't know why he was there, but he turned to bootmaking, which he learnt in prison. And we're only discussing this. I said, if I tried to make a pair of boots, I've often wanted to make it, just as a hobby, to make a pair of boots. I've seen boots made by men, like a Czechoslovakian came into my pharmacy years ago and wanted to came for medical reasons, and he said, by the way, I make shoes. And he showed me shoes magnificently made. If you ever want a pair made for yourself, let me know. And I thought, if he can do it, I'd like to try that. But would I wear them? Probably not after I made them. It takes time and effort to produce those shoes. But she can produce a pair in a couple of days, whereas it takes me months to make them properly after she's acquired the skills, etc. Knowledge of letters, etc., etc. Then we do an act of exchange. That's what the body economic is about. And remember, I have said many times, and I say it again, it is not difficult for me to prove that if we had a normal body economic, 1 day a week would all that would be necessary to earn your living. 1 day a week. I wrote that article, small article, in the middle of the Indian Ocean on the SS Strathmore in 1962, full of Greek and English migrants, and only about half a dozen of us were not migrants.
Did you write it in 1 day?
Yes. Well, it was only just notes then, but it's been expanded now into something bigger, you know. So that's leisure. Now the body recreation, normal, normal organic constitution. Normal organic constitution. I was trying to think of the best word to use there. That's what recreation is about, to have a normal organic constitution. That's called health. Expulsion of all the toxins in the body and developing the muscles, etc. The body politic, first, in my judgment, is civic friendship. Man is a social animal. Civic friendship. In other words, friendship with others of your own kind. Then, peace, order, freedom, justice, etc., etc., etc. Love of the peoples of the country, love of one's own country, respect for the law, love of the law of one, and respect for traditions in the country, etc. But the body cultural, and this I had to discover for myself, and two national figures have said to me, I don't want this to sound boastful, but I'm telling you that, trying to make it as honest as I can, that it was a stroke, something, you get inspiration sometimes. This is one of those inspirational strokes that I got. Contemplation of the beautiful. Dr. Redpath was one of those too, by the way. Contemplation of the beautiful. That's what the object of the body cultural is. Oh dear, I can't spell it, what I'm doing. Forgive me. The body cultural, the object of the body cultural are all those goods which are the object of the speculative intellect. We look for the beautiful in them. So we see the true and the good in them. Today we use the word culture to mean just what it doesn't mean, namely practices. We're talking about the practical intellect. This is the speculative intellect. You speak another language, you earn your living this way, not that way, you dress this way and that way, the practical things. That's not what culture is. Culture is the object of the intellect speculating. Speculare in Latin means to look. Speculum is a Latin word for a mirror. So that's what the unification is. Ultimately, this should unify all the others. Contemplation of the beautiful. I always get a little disappointed when I hear a student say, well, if we save time and the body economic, what the hell are we going to do with the rest of our time? I said, you go and sit on a rock and do what you like. I know what I'd do. Plenty of other people. And I had a girl come to me one day, she said, is he for real? But could you think of all the things? In fact, I have written in the section on beautiful, which you'll get later, it's all complete, I just want to read it through again. You'll get suggestions of what you could do. Explore the underworld of the oceans. Explore under the ground. A friend of mine in Australia was working with a mining company, and he showed me some minerals that came from 1.5 miles down. They're boring. Beautiful, brilliant crystals they were, these minerals. Australia's alive with minerals, by the way, magnificent stuff. Iron and aluminum, which we call aluminium, of course. Like somebody said, what do they do when they put copper on the bottom of a boat? They call it copper bottoming. What do they do when this is a children's joke in Australia, what do they do when they put aluminium on the bottom of a boat? Aluminium on the bottoming. Try and say it. It's easy to say aluminum bottoming. But if this was all ordered correctly and anti-productive investment was removed, 1 day a week is all we'd need with modern instruments. Geneviève was a young French woman that I knew when I was living at Ottawa, and Elaine and I were strolling through last winter we were there, strolling through the forest right near our home, which was the foot of Mount Royal. We met Geneviève, and I rather liked her. She was a girl from France, and dropped home and had a cup of coffee. And she said to me, it's impossible to earn your living in 1 day a week. By the time I'd finished explaining this, and explaining the interference in the body economic, and by the time I'd finished saying, and I appealed to her, she was a chemical engineer, Geneviève, I said, you've got modern instruments. If they could earn their living 2.5 days a week in the medieval period, which is all that was necessary, 2.5 days a week, with modern instrumentation and all the progression we've made in every field, surely to God 1 day a week is all that be necessary. She finally said to me, Raphael, vous avez raison. You're right. You're right, she said. She admitted it. Because with modern instruments, computers can calculate in a minute Some years ago, when I travelled across the Pacific, I remember a fellow going to buy a little hand calculator. It cost him $40, and he said, "Oh boy, I got it for only $40. Today you only buy them for about $3 or $4. You can buy the same thing. In fact, they can do much more." How we've progressed with computers, with all sorts of things. Like Dr. Wisniewski's son was working for his doctorate in developing a hand, an artificial hand for doing operations and all sorts of things. What we can do today. So there, my friends, they're the categories of unity. We're going to see some very interesting stuff here. I've got a note here that Christianity, for instance, gives unity to Western civilization, and when Christianity, particularly Catholicism, because the whole Europe was Catholic then, when it was fractured by a number of people, what happened? Unity has been lost in Europe. But the universe has a common good too. What is the common good of the whole universe? God. Even a tree is striving to get to God by carrying out their struggle to perfect itself by reproducing. Ultimately, is to manifest, it doesn't know this of course, it manifests the glory of God by reproduction. If we say there's a physical universe in the whole universe, now we're in pantheism. All is God. So what am I touching? If that's true, I'm touching God. Don't worry about it. So moral unity, I've set them out here on your next page if I remember correctly. Civil society can be destroyed, the unity, by political quarrels, expose the faults of enemies. John Thornhill uses an excellent work in a lovely little book. I bought half a dozen copies at about 25 cents each on one occasion, of a lovely little The Person and the Common Good, I think. No, something like that. He says 6 men are in a lifeboat. They're rowing towards safety. One might be a minister of religion. Another one is a pregnant woman. Another one is a juggler, an artist. Another one is let's say a physician. All sorts of things. But what's in their minds at that moment? One thing. The ship is sinking, row for the island, safety. They've all got a common good. They're not concerned about what do you teach and what side are you on, etc. politically. I heard of 6 men in a boat rowing for safety, and then they lost the oars. One said, "Give me the rope and I'll swim to the shore and I'll pull us all in." Of course, as soon as he jumped in, he was gobbled up by sharks. Then another one, he said the same thing. "Give me the rope and I'll swim ashore. I'm a good swimmer." He was gobbled up by sharks. A third one said, "Give me the rope." He jumped in, the sharks all stood back, and he swam to shore. "What's with this guy?" said the others. "Oh, professional courtesy. He's a lawyer." With that, I think. Thank you and good night.
We're done.